Hey everyone, today I want to talk about toxic family members and the fact that you have to protect your mental health. You have the responsibility to take care of you. You have the responsibility to make sure you are happy and that you are good. You have the responsibility to create the life that you want. And if you do not want a life of strife, depression, unhappiness, then you know what you have to do. You have to learn that if the circumstances be it, you might have to let go of family members, and it does not matter which family member it is. Any family member will have to be let go. You have to conjure up enough strength to let toxic family members go. You have to conjure up enough strength to save yourself. You are your own responsibility. I'll tell you a story. Recently, I do know of a person who had been taking care of an elderly family member. Now, this family member, for years, has operated in the prophetic gift, and for years could literally walk up to a person in the store and tell them each and everything that's going on with them, that went on with them in the past and will happen in the future. And what you do have to understand is that gifts come without repentance. So a person can have a gift and still have a demon. A person can have a gift and they could still be vexed with spirits. It doesn't matter because gifts come without repentance. And you can look that up in the Bible. So this person had been through issues in their life. First of all, there's self-hate there. Okay, because of she's never liked her looks, she's never liked her skin complexion, and because of that, coming from a family that was very colorist, and her being one of the kids who maybe stood out and not blending in with the complexion of all the other kids, she developed self-hate, and the family helped her develop it. That was traumatic for her. That was a wound that she carried from a little child up until adulthood, until seniorhood, until becoming elderly. That trauma of not loving yourself was enough negative energy to attract more negative things into her life over the course of her life. And many people would call it, oh, cursed. You're cursed. How could you have so many bad things happen to you? Well, the root of it all is the negative energy that's being harvested within, and that you're attracting more negative things. This woman, over time, she lost a child. She moved on to lose her husband as well. She had another child who was shot 8 times, but he survived. There was an attempt on his life. She had a daughter. There was an attempt on her life where they literally shot the car up with her daughter driving, trying to rob her. And they shot through the headrest, and miraculously, the bullet that went through the headrest disappeared. And even though crime scene investigators search for the sixth bullet, they couldn't find it. They only could find 5 of them. And the one bullet that they couldn't find was the bullet that went through the headrest. That one was snatched up and placed into a different dimension, right? More negative experiences, more trauma that was attracted from the initial trauma, right? As things continued, she had little ones that she was raising. Literally one night, a tropical storm came in and one of the windows blew out of the house. The glass from the window fell on the baby while sleeping and sliced the baby's lip open. The baby was rushed to the hospital to close up that wound, and he made it. Amen, right? The key thing is, what you have to understand is that trauma creates wounds. Trauma and traumatic experiences are painful. It's just like you were in a fight. Those wounds, if they're not healed, are openings. And those openings are entryways and portals for dark energy to enter. And when that happens and you never heal from those traumas, you never do the spiritual work, you never do the work therapeutically, you move into your older years and you come up with those different sicknesses of the mind that we all know about, that a lot of senior citizens and elderly is suffering with to this day. I know of a young man, well, he's an older man now, middle age. His mother suffers from one of those sicknesses that's plaguing the elderly community now. And she would always talk about her husband cheating on her and having a full-grown daughter who's just about the same age as the guy I know. So she had a baby with her husband, and apparently there was another woman on the other side of town who was pregnant at the same time. And you know what? That child and the young man had to meet each other so that they wouldn't fool around and date each other because they were in the same city. That mother would sit all the time during her days as she moved into having this sickness as an older person of the mind, and she would talk to her husband constantly, and she would spend every morning fussing him out for cheating on her. Now, this old man passed years ago. When she would do this and have these episodes, her husband had been gone 17, 18 years. But she would make it her duty to argue and fuss him out every morning because that's what was left on her mind. It was a trauma that never healed. And that wound that didn't heal was left open, and it was an entryway for dark spirits, dark energy to enter, and they invaded her mind. And that's what's happening, or what has happened to the latter individual. Both women I'm talking about, both women in their elderly years. But the key thing is, folks, you have to stay positive. You have to create happiness for yourself. If you are in a situation where you have toxic family members, you have to save yourself. You are your only responsibility. Even parents. If it's a parent, you're going to have to let them go. You can still be respectful. You can still pray for them. You can still support them from afar, even if you have to. But you don't have to engage if it's a situation where you're being hurt. If you're being hurt, You're not being appreciated. You're not being celebrated for what you do, even as a child. You have to save yourself, because you came into this world. When you came through and you broke through that veil and you went from energetic form to physical form, it was just you and you. And it'll be the same thing on the way out. So meanwhile, you have to take care of yourself. I'll repeat it over and over again. It's your responsibility. You are your responsibility to take care of yourself mentally, physically, psychologically, spiritually, energetically. All of them is your responsibility. Take care of yourself. Make yourself your number one priority. And you know what will happen in return? God will bless you for it. Because you know what you're doing? You're taking care of his child. You're taking care of God's child. And as a result of taking care of God's child, God will bless you for taking care of you. Isn't that sweet? Sounds like a win-win to me. But back to the story. Toxic family members. Young lady taking care of her mother. Mother has been called out by pastors to say, you know what, she's witchcraft. And the daughter asked the pastor who came to the house to visit. One pastor and a bishop was accompanying that pastor. And she asked, well, how could a prophet become bewitched like this? This can happen to a prophet? And she said, yes, if she has wounds that haven't healed. There's your confirmation. If she has past traumas that she didn't heal and she has not chose to let them go, then that would be the entryway for any entity, any dark force to enter in. And the second thing is belief. If you believe and you subscribe to that field of dark energy, witchcraft, and that world, if you believe in the world, then so shall it be in your vortex. So shall it be in your realm, because you subscribe to it. You believe in it, and you believe that it can happen. And belief is very powerful. The same way you can believe that someone can witchcraft you, it's the same way you can believe that there's no way on this earth that you can be touched by witchcraft. It's your belief. Belief is very strong. It is a part of the maintenance. It is a part of the requirement and the responsibility you have to yourself. You have to cover yourself and know that you have a shield around you. You have an arc around you that is impenetrable. It cannot be penetrated by any entity, any energy, any dark force. It can't be penetrated. But if you believe that someone can bend your will for theirs, then so be that as well. So back to the story. Even though this young woman has explained to her mother over and over and over again that you have to bring up your energetic field, you have to bring up your willpower to know that you are a conqueror over any and everything. You are a conqueror through God. God conquered the grave. If you can conquer that, anything is possible, isn't it? Lazarus raised up. How about the woman who entertained the prophet, the traveling prophet who came to her town, and as a result of sharing her home, sharing her last bit of bread and olive oil with the prophet, her son was raised up, right? At the end of the day, the biggest sacrifice is to sacrifice your fear for fearlessness. That's a sacrifice within itself that will bring about results. Sacrifice your fear. Fight it with every fiber of your being and move into fearlessness. So even though this young lady had been trying to minister to her mother over and over and over again about conquering this spiritual battle that she's in, because you can pray for someone over and over and over and over again, but until they have the belief that they are a conqueror, what really happens in that scenario? What's really shifting in the circumstances if the person themselves does not believe? Self-belief is very important. It is the root and it is the source from which deliverance can come from. It starts with you. So her praying for her mother, her speaking constantly to her mother, it was not working. The mother was continuing to get worse. So at one point, she decided to try other types of interventions. But though, no matter what, even though some of them would work a little, it would be temporary. Because at the root, the mother is not changing on the spiritual level, the mental, emotional level. So you won't see a manifestation of anything in the 3D because she's not doing the work energetically. Just like Albert Einstein said, E equals MC squared. The MC squared is the three-dimensional physical manifestation of what was on the other side of the equation, the E, the energy. So you don't see the 3D unless you put the thought in, the energy in. It has to happen. It has to start with you. That daughter could pray all she can, but the mother has to have the realization. Now, can you stand in the gap for people? Of course. Of course. And that's what many of us will have to do for family members. You can protect your peace. You can place distance between yourself and family members. And if you're not angered with them too much, you can stand in the gap for them from afar. But what you must do is always save yourself. If you're on an airplane, what do they tell you? Put your oxygen mask on first before you help anyone. So it is imperative that you look after yourself and your own mental health. Look after yourself, put your own oxygen mask on before you can help anyone else. So you can stand in the gap. You can pray from afar. You can pray for deliverance for a person that you feel may be so caught up in a bind they can't get themselves out. You can stand in the gap for them. But the last thing you need to do is to be in a situation where it's stressful, it's tapping you out, it's draining you of your life force, it's draining you of the energy that you could have, would have, and should have to truly stand in the gap for the person. How can you stand in the gap for them when your energy is buzzed out and zapped? Because whatever's plaguing them spiritually, mentally, and emotionally is taxing you so much that you can't stand in the gap spiritually for them because they can't stand in the gap for themselves right now because they're so overtaken. You have to do the work. That's why separation is key. That's why we mentioned you have to separate yourself from toxic family members and toxic situations. We're focusing on family now because we know that with family comes an emotional attachment, a love attachment. So you will see them again. So you can stand in the gap until they're delivered. But we are promoting self-preservation, right? Back to the story. So this young lady through trying different strategies and nothing's working, she was starting to become energy zapped. So whatever had been plaguing the mother spiritually, emotionally, psychologically, mentally, it was starting to affect her now. It was causing her to have issues with hair falling out. It was messing up her hormonal balance. The stress was affecting her cortisol levels, right? And cortisol levels can have a large effect on body weight. So she was gaining weight from stress. She was losing hair from stress. Her cycle was off. All of this was happening from this one woman who was so entangled into her own mental, psychological traumas and issues that she couldn't save herself, and others were sinking with her. The person who was trying the most to save her was sinking with her. You have to get out of the water. You have to save yourself. Get on dry land, and then you can throw life vests from dry land, but you cannot sink by being too deep in it. You have to distance yourself, recharge, re-energize, and then you can stand in the gap if you choose to. Well, that daughter one day was outright attacked verbally by this woman. She spewed all type of hateful rhetoric towards her, to others, with an audience, attacking the very person who had been praying for her, standing in the gap for her, researching for remedies for her, trying to find solutions for it, speaking to people, consulting with clergymen and counsel. The demonic entity that had taken over her did not want to leave. So what did it do? Attack the person who's trying to get rid of it. And she, at that point, told her own daughter, I wish I never had you. And she talked about the daughter to the public, defamed her character, and it was as if she did not know this person. That's when she knew that there was definitely some type of possession taken over. But what she knew also at that moment is she had to save herself. That situation was very toxic. And like in the Bible, when Jesus asked the man, "What is your name?" the demon rose up and said, "My name is Legion, and for we are many." On this same day that this elderly woman lashed out at the very woman and child of hers that she gave birth and said that she wished she had never had. Now this is a prophet of God, said this to her own child who had been caring for her for close to a year of her being in that state. She then observed an elder brother attack her as well, who had previously tried to fight her. It was like spirits. There was a legion working against this prophet of God. You also had the wife standing at the gate, the wife standing in the yard, two children of the son as well. And they all, as if they had pitchforks in their hand, attacked this one prophet of God. And it was the prophet's intuition and acknowledgement when she heard a voice that basically told her that you've been attacked by legions, but you stood firm. You've been attacked by legions, familiar spirits that all came against you because of the plan of deliverance you have within you. It was at that point that this young prophetess said to herself that it's time to recharge. And in order to recharge, there would have to be a separation. There would have to be a separation from toxic family members. And that's what we bring to you today. You have to save yourself. You have a responsibility to create the life that you want. To create a life of happiness means you will run away at all expense from any and everything that makes you unhappy. Dot your I's, cross your T's, be kind, give it to God. And while it's given to God, go enjoy yourself. Do what you love. Romanticize your life. Do things you like. If you like hydrangeas and roses, then you go to the flower shop. Go put an arrangement together. Go pick flowers. Go browsing. Go, hey, grab a Starbucks. Do what you want. Go to the coffee house. Go grab a herbal tea. Whatever you need for your sanity and peace. If you need a spa day, if you want a facial, a pedicure, a manicure, if you want to go lay on the beach, if you want to take a boat ride, if you want to take a stroll around the lake, whatever brings you into a state of peace and harmony, and the key is happiness, then that's what you do. Feel free, be charged, and know that if your own family is putting you in a predicament where they are bringing depression, sadness, sorrow, and unhappiness in your life, know that the time has come for you to depart. Be blessed.